Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. Brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners, it's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. Learn more and subscribe today at eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcast. And now, here's your host, Frank LaRosa.
Hey everybody, welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. I am your host, Frank LaRosa, and I'm joined once again by my right hand, my most important person at the firm, Vice President of Elite Consulting Partners, Stacey Frank. Welcome again.
Thank you. Hey everybody. Happy to be back.
Yeah, happy to be back. We are loving it right now. We're in our studio. If you're listening to us on iTunes, thank you for listening. If you're make sure that we have a YouTube channel, so head over to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa on YouTube, and you'll get to see us hanging out in our nice, put my jacket on in our nice little cool studio and all that good stuff. Anyway, so I wanted to just again, a lot of these conversations, which I think are really exciting as we've sort of evolved our podcast. Stacey and I, as the Vice President of Elite Consulting Partners, we talk, multiple times a day, but really is integral in terms of the direction of the firm. And she's also one of the best consultants that we have.
Thank you.
She's our number one consultant, which means she talks to a lot of advisors all day long, and large teams. You've moved some of the largest clients that we've had. She also has a master's degree in psychology, which gives her an unfair advantage because a lot of times we play therapist with our clients, especially when there's partnerships involved.
Well, look, this is a huge decision. We don't take it lightly. This is not a transaction. This is a major milestone decision in your career, in our clients' careers. It affects your family, your business, your clients, your emotions, your finances. So we have to tap into those things.
Yeah, so we take it very seriously. But one of the conversations that you and I were having recently is, we talked to an advisor, and they're at a wirehouse firm. We don't need to. This is not about firms. And they talked to us about this independent thing, right? Well, everyone seems to go being independent, so I might want to look at that, right? And the reality is, and I think there's some noise out there in the community that says you have to be an RIA, or you have to be independent. You have to be at a wirehouse, be an independent broker dealer, or an RIA. And I think for the ease of this conversation, when we talk about independence, right, we are really talking about the general term. And that could be you're an independent advisor at a broker dealer, like an LPL or a firm like that, or you're an independent advisor at an RIA. You're not an RIA. That's a whole nother topic. An RIA is a corporate entity, not an individual. So
yeah, there's definitely some confusion
right
with everybody's definition of going RIA or being an RIA is very different.
Which is for another conversation. Right. But really, because we're starting to have a lot of conversations coming into the end of the year, but we think it's really important for you to define what you're really trying to do and whether independence is right for you as a financial advisor or not. And it's okay that it's not. Like, there's nothing. Look, I think that wirehouse firms, W-2 firms, have a place for a lot of people. And it's okay if you feel that way. And we'll get into it a little bit, but you have sort of theories on that, and you've talked to a lot of advisors on why independence isn't necessarily right for them.
Yeah, and one of the questions we ask advisors is, what does independence mean for you? We like to use the term private practice. What does that mean for you? For some, it's simply more autonomy. For some, it's simply, making a change to a firm that is more advisor-centric. That's independence. That's freedom. So does independence mean freedom to you, or does it mean running a P&L and operating a business? So those are some of the questions that we like to dig into with our advisors, not just, hey, go to this independent firm. You said independence. Let's do it. Let's go. We take a much more consultative approach we always talk about, a deeper dive into, when an advisor says to us, I want to go independent, our question back is why? What do you mean? And so part of the process is helping that advisor define, because independence is on a spectrum. There's so many different ways and affiliations that you can achieve what independence means to you. we're not here to decide that for you, but rather help you come to your own self-realization, really.
Right. And I'll give you an example. And I've had a couple, more than a few, but recently I'm working with an advisor that is at a wire. And I've known this gentleman for several years. And, he's got young kids. He's got a decent business, right? Does about $700,000-800,000 a year in production. But he's got young kids, and we were talking about his, sort of a lifestyle and what he's trying to, why he wants to leave the firm that he's at, and what he wants in the new firm, right? What do you want to be, right? We say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the reality is, he knows that true independence is where he wants to end up, right? But at this stage in his life, he also is really self-aware, which is really awesome when we work with people that are self-aware. And he also knows that he won't be able to do the independent thing correctly. So what he's really looking for is freedom, right? The ability to brand. He understands that there's a give up with the payout structure, higher payouts in the independent space versus maybe the 40 or 45% payout at a W-2 space. But he understands that that's the cost. That difference is the cost of his personal life, having 4 kids and baseball and soccer and all this other stuff and shore house, and he's comfortable with that. So those are the types of things that you have to be okay with, right? And he'll move to a firm and he'll get a nice check. So, but what we're looking for him is what firms are out there that have W-2 model, so he doesn't have to worry about his assistant and the operations and the rent and dealing with the landlord and all the things that you get involved as running your own business. He understands that and he's comfortable with it. And so we're looking for a firm that will give him all of those things. Marketing. He's at a firm where they can't really do any social media, and he sort of likes doing that stuff, right? And so he follows me on Instagram. That's the reason I know a lot about him. Obviously, because we've talked over the years. It's because I follow his Instagram account and he follows my Instagram account, right? And so I know when he's at the shore house and he's out with the kids and at the beach and you see all those things. And it's not that you don't have the flexibility to do those things when you're independent, right?
In a wire.
But he doesn't want to have to worry about those things.
Right. He wants to be able to operate his business that adheres to, what's most important to them. So if there's that work-life balance, then maybe he's more efficient with his clients, still growing their business. But if, he's not sure exactly what he wants to achieve or what that independent model looks like for him, then there's a lot of confusion going on and won't feel like he can operate effectively. So that's one of the things that we've gotten so exceptional at in the way we consult with advisors, is helping them decide what level of independence is that? What level of autonomy are you comfortable with? Some advisors will say, I don't want to make those decisions. Well, if you're saying independence, then there is some level of business decision making that comes with it. So what do you want to do? Do you want to go all out and run it all yourself? Or maybe a more supported model would allow that advisor to have more freedom in his personal life, take more vacations. So it really
What about
really
tuck-ins? Like you talked about tuck-ins a little bit. Talk a little about the value of, on an independent chassis, we'll call it, right? The value of a tuck-in opportunity.
Yep. I think what we've gotten so exceptional at, and we spend exorbitant amount of times researching, looking under the hood of many of the leading independent firms in the industry. And it's not just go to firm A, go to firm B, but how and why. And sometimes it's a geography decision. Sometimes it's a personality decision or a business philosophy alignment, whatever it is. We know where I like to call them enterprise groups or OSJs that provide these tuck-in scenarios around the country. We spend and research and build relationships with some of the enterprise groups that do it the best. We know who doesn't do it so great, that says they do it. Yeah. They have tuck-in and support opportunities, but they really don't. So we're here to uncover those things for our advisor clients.
Yeah, so you might be someone that understands the value of and I'm not going to get into tax lessons here, but the value of the tax benefits of 1099 versus W-2. But again, you don't want to run everything. So we can find a location for you where you can sort of tuck into a branch, an office, right, where there's support and all that stuff, and maybe you get a lower payout. As an example, with a tuck-in, we typically see, I'll just say on average, about a 60% payout, right? So someone's going to say to you, hey, John, my buddy's name is not John, by the way, but hey, John, here's the office. You come in, it's your practice. You're not rolling into us. You can use your own brand. Sometimes they don't want you to do that, but I'm saying use your own brand. Here's your office. We're going to give you a 60% payout. We cover everything. And maybe that guy's doing $500,000 or $600,000. And since we do pro formas all the time, a 60% net payout, right? Net payout for a $500,000, $600,000 producer is a good margin.
Right.
Is a good margin. Because if you were a $600,000 producer and took your own office, even small space, had to pay your own assistant and some other things, you're probably going to be in that 55 to 60 range anyway. Now, with a tuck-in, you basically can get that and you don't have any of the headaches.
Right. So it really depends. And that's what we try to uncover. Some advisors come to us from wirehouse or W-2 firms and they don't know. So when we ask the question, it's, well, do you want to build, elite wealth management, whatever it might be? And sometimes we get the pause and it's like, I never thought about that. Or do you want to leverage the brand of an enterprise group that is really strong in the community, does charity events, is well recognized in, youth sports, whatever it is. So that's one of the things that is a tough decision to make. We can argue pros and cons for both, but again, it's advisor choice. So as you're deciding to go into that independent world, these are some of the things that we would help you define. And maybe we look at both. Maybe you experience what both options would look like.
Yeah, it's not. Our job is to help facilitate a conversation. It's like a good therapist, right? Right. You go to a therapist and a good therapist lets you talk, and you generally talk through your issues, and you're like, wow, this was awesome, right? And they didn't really give you any advice. You went through it yourself. What we try to do is just get into your head and understand what you're thinking about, where you're trying to go, and then bring you those options. And I was going to give you an example of, we work with a firm that I'm a strategic advisor to. I'm trying to help them, guide them, and all that other stuff, called Momentum Wealth Partners. And they're a great firm. They're affiliated with LPL. And they recently opened an office sort of locally to us. And they brought on some advisors that are good advisors, but just didn't have understood the value of being independent, wanted to be independent, right? But didn't want to have to pull the trigger on all the stuff that they'd have to do to be independent. So they have a tuck-in location right in Mount Laurel. And they've been able to bring in some advisors, give them really competitive payouts, and do everything for the advisor. And it's perfect for these guys, right? Meaning for the advisors that have recently joined, and that got commitments recently, again, for some other people, that's the kind of stuff that you should be thinking about. Now, on the flip side, if I can just sort of go down a rabbit hole here, right? On the flip side of that, if you're on the other side and you're an advisor that's building an office and you want to bring on advisors, right? You have to make some decisions, and we'll cover this on another podcast. But you have to make some decisions on how you're going to bring somebody in. How are you going to bring a tuck-in in? Right? Because if you're hearing us talk about this, you're like, man, I like that tuck-in idea. Be careful what you wish for, because there's things that you have to deal with, right? And so on the next episode that we're going to talk about, do you want to be a tuck-in or not? So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, just the decisions or furniture decisions. What does the logo look like as you enter the lobby? Things like that.
Which I think are exciting.
Right, it's all about the brand.
I had a friend that was looking at two different options, an independent option and a wire, and the decisions about space and about how much furniture was going to cost and all of these things. And he was a good producer, and he was an entrepreneur. He was an entrepreneurial-minded guy, meaning at his core, right? Meaning outside of wealth management, right? He buys real estate and he does all this other stuff, and that's why I talked to him about independence. But it ultimately came down to He likes the simplicity of his wealth management business being in a W-2 office so he can do the other things outside. And that's okay. Because he was getting anxiety thinking about the
decisions and all these choices. I don't want them. No thanks.
And I said to him, hey, man, just take the check. Just take the check.
Okay,
and he's really
fine.
happy and he's successful. I'm happy for him. And that was the right thing for him to do. And so some of this is really about being honest, right? I mean, everyone talks about being independent. As an entrepreneur, we're entrepreneurs. Running your own company is really exciting. I love it. It's a hobby for me, right? So what I do for a living is a hobby. So I don't mind when I'm working on vacation or whatever.
Not 9 to 5.
Right.
Think about it all the time.
Right. But some people don't. You have to be honest with yourself that that's what you want or don't want. If you like the decisions on hiring staff and all that stuff, then you probably will be successful. If you don't like dealing with that stuff at all, the buck stops with you when you're an independent advisor. The decisions stop with you when you're an independent advisor. Buying furniture, it's not coming from some corporate account. It's coming from your account. You're
selecting, I have a group of clients out on the West Coast that things got delayed because they couldn't decide on their backsplash for their office kitchen. And, who am I to say, hurry up, we're close to move date, but that backsplash really defined who they were. It was super important. So things as simple as that, some people run towards it and some people run really far away from it. We're here to help you decide what's best for you. That's the most important thing.
And it's interesting that you brought your psychology degree in. We had a client that was part of a team, and one member of the team wanted to go independent and one didn't. And that it came out over a long period of time. It was like a couple of years in the works.
Couple of years, yeah.
But it took us a while to really get to the core of what the problem was, why the one partner was, kept kicking the can on the ideas of moving. And what we really got down to is the fact that he just didn't want to go independent.
Yeah, just not cut from the cloth. That's what we love saying, not cut from the cloth of independence, entrepreneurial at the core. That's not for us to decide. It's just, it's who you are.
And judge. We're not judging. This is not, because I do think there's some press out there that makes people feel like that's what they have to do. Oh my God, I have to be an RIA. If you're an idiot if you don't go, if you have your Series 7 license, right? If you do brokerage business, you're a dinosaur, right? I completely disagree with that.
Yeah, because it's about their client base. We have plenty of advisors that say, my clients would kill me if I did X, Y, Z. So who are we to decide that going RIA only is the best route for you? We don't know every intricate client, all their needs and wants. That's up to the advisor. We're just here to help you uncover what does your level of independence or the support that you need to achieve that, if that's what you want, happen. We're just here to uncover those.
Right. So what I would say to you is, if you're struggling with that idea or you're reading about it, maybe you don't even know I hate to say this because we're in finance. So, you don't know the math. You don't understand the impact of 1099 versus W-2, and you should. And it's a little bit different at every firm. We call it above the line. So above the line, which is sort of the cost and pricing at the firm that you're at, and the below the line is really the local expenses that don't change no matter what broker or independent broker deal you affiliate with, right? Those costs are those costs. Your staff, your real estate, your marketing, all that stuff's the same. But if you want to go through that process with us, and you want to talk to Stacey, you can reach her. You can email her at stacey@leeconsultingpartners.com, and it's STACEY.
Don't forget the E.
Don't forget the E. And what number can they call you at?
856-316-7736. That's my office line, but it goes to my cell phone, so very easily reachable. And Frank, you can be contacted.
Yeah, 856-316-4651, as everybody knows.
That was commercial.
But you should, it's our 2 seconds. But the reality is we're here to consult with you. We're here to provide guidance and advice if it's something that you need. We work with some clients sometimes, we talk to them, we go through the math.
Years.
And sometimes they just decide to stay where they are. And that's okay too. It's just what we do. We love helping advisors. And Stacey's one of the best in the business. It's what we drive. It's what we wake up to do every day. We believe that we have a calling to really provide the best advice possible, because next to your family, right, this is your most important asset.
Right. We want to help you get it right. We need to help you make the right decision, the best decision for you. That's what we're here to facilitate, not decide for you. Although sometimes we say, hey, this firm would be best. Yeah. But ultimately, it's the advisor's decision. We're just here to help you define it and get there.
Yeah, look, we have a different lens, right? We have a different lens. We see a lot more. You might be an advisor in a marketplace and you know the managers in your marketplace. Well, of course you do, right? And you say, well, what do I need you for? I know John over at whatever firm. I'm sure he'll help me out. Yeah, but John still is a steward of his firm and still has responsibilities to his firm.
To the branch, right?
Right, to the branch. And John only has one blue pen to sell. For those of you that have been in the business more than a minute, you know what that joke means, right? You have a blue pen and that's all you have to sell. So John's just selling blue pens. But for us, we are agnostic to where you go. So we're going to be able to help you and guide you. And maybe John's the right place. Maybe his firm is the right firm to go to. But we'll help you make that decision. Ultimately, you're making the decision, but we'll get you the information. We'll help you with the deal negotiations, because there's lots of stuff to go into that. And understanding the economics, not all 90% payouts are the same.
Created equal, right?
Right.
Not all 300% packages are the same.
Right. So just look, if you're going through this process and if you want some guidance and you feel like you're going through this, because if you go through it on your own, it can become a full-time job, which is not something that you want to do. So reach out to Stacey, reach out to me, check out some of our other podcasts. If you go to our website, you'll see that we have a list of podcasts there. We have all sorts of great content. Go to our YouTube channel, again, Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, which is franklarosa.elite. And we look forward to the next conversation. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics in the financial services industry, or you just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcasts.